Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Ah, are you confused, Chris? Don't know what time of day it is.
No, I'm already listener-minded. The listeners might be watching in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, or the middle of the night.
You look very holy there, David. The sun is suffusing your study as if there's some kind of
Halo.
happening.
Obviously,
Always on the lookout for the journalists there, Devs.
Yeah.
Good words, some few not a word that we'd use in the study here in Beaminster very often. But it's a very good word. I do notice it looks like your blinds are pretty broken compared to mine, which don't exist anymore.
Well, no, they're half up and half down. But
Is that a bit like your stockings, one up and one down?
yeah. How did you know?
I've been told. It's a rumour. Unwarranted, I suspect.
Yeah,
but there we are. Yeah, it's all good stuff, isn't it? Yeah, another day, another dollar, another week gone by.
Oh gosh, how do you feel? I think Lent's gone really fast so far.
Yeah. Yes, it is going, isn't it?
I think the year's gone really fast so far. I'm struggling to keep up with all this calendar moving.
Yeah.
It's a sign, Chris, of old age, you see. I've noticed.
Time was supposed to slow down with old age.
I've not noticed that.
I'm definitely doddering around, that's for sure.
Yeah, trying to keep things. And of course, because schools don't break up until Maundy Thursday, it's hectic because we're still doing all the stuff around those. Funerals galore, sadly.
Yeah, there are.
Coming in and I don't know.
I didn't see you last week. Did you have a nice time?
Well, we missed you. We did miss you. We did make several references to you being absent.
I was foraging.
I know you were foraging. Did you get anything nice?
Yeah. Yeah, I know how to find. Well, I know I can identify sorrel now, which I'd really recommend sorrel. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And when we foraged, we cooked up a 3-course meal in the car park afterwards.
What was it? Soup and bread and something else?
No, we had spring rolls to begin with lots of foraged bits and pieces in them, and then we had a kind of warm. We had some of our ingredients weren't foraged, but many of them were. And then the dessert had edible flowers all over it, which was really nice. It was good, yeah. Did you know sea kelp, which you can get off the beach as long as you get it from a rock, as long as it's growing on a rock, it will be fine. Sea kelp has more protein than chicken.
Do you know? I didn't know that, Deb.
No.
I caught a programme on the television about sea kelp last night, about somebody in Ireland farming it, growing it on ropes.
They do. Yeah, they do. They do. No, I didn't know that. I'm not a great sea kelp person, but I may become one. No, you've suggested it, Deb. Sea kelp.
Yeah.
Dead nettles are very nice. I don't know if we got a profusion of them at the moment in our garden. They taste very lemony. You can use those as salad leaves.
Yes, no, she showed us how to pick stinging nettles, so you didn't sting yourself, and how to fold them up, and then you can eat them. But and you know that sticky bud that's in everyone's garden, you can have that as well. That's very good. Cleaves. It's very good for your lymphatic system.
Isn't he one of the Palmer's brothers, Cleves?
Yes, it is. Yes.
He's retired now.
You wouldn't want to eat him. Leave him alone. He's done nothing wrong.
The beer might dry up if we eat him.
No, he's no longer involved in the brewery, I don't think.
No.
His brother runs it, John.
I know, I think he's retired as well. It's Emily now.
As I say, it's John's daughter that runs it now, isn't it? Yeah. But there we are. History of the brewery industry in Bridport. Well, Sunday, dear viewer, for me, I don't know about the other two, but for me, it begins one of the most important weeks in the church, or the periods in the church's year. Passion Tide leading into Holy Week and Easter.
Yeah.
I've
That's
always
2
liked
weeks.
Passion. Always liked Passion Tide. It sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But of course, isn't that great?
No, I had PCC on Tuesday evening, and I read them a passage about passion by Michael Main, which I thought was good. I don't know what they thought.
Yes. Well,
And it's exciting in Bridport today, because today our new Pioneer Team Vicar is moving into town.
Yay!
She's
Welcome,
not starting
Callie.
work for a while, obviously, but she is moving to Bridport today.
Oh.
So if by any chance Callie or Rob ever watches this, welcome to Bridport.
Welcome to Bridport, Callie. Look forward to meeting you properly.
if you're watching this, Callie, I would suggest you haven't got enough work to do. We'll soon stop that, don't you worry. No, good. Welcome.
She's probably more discerning than watching Rev Chat, though. So
I don't blame her. We need a discerning person, and we've got one in you. So 2 discerning people will be very good. All is well. All will be well.
So we are moving into Passion Tide.
Not into passion. Now be careful, Debs. We're not into that. Can I just say for you before anything, I do need to put a written statement on about this. It isn't about passion in that way, as we're going to discover, no doubt, in a moment. Yeah. Shall we take a pause at that moment, and you can read then, Debs?
Yes, let's do that. Gospel reading this Sunday is written in John chapter 12, beginning to read at verse 20. Now, among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew, and then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life will lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled, and what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name." Then a voice came from heaven. "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The crowd standing there heard it and said that it was thunder. Others said an angel had spoken to him. Jesus answered, "This voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die.
Well, when I did my amazing hours and hours of research for this talk, the last time I preached on this passage, I titled it "Dying to Live." It actually is quite apt as we start Passion Tide, isn't it? Because thankfully we know the result of the story. As in, we know about Easter Sunday, but the rest of the story actually gets quite bleak by the time you get to Saturday, Easter Saturday. But
the thing I noticed just then is lately we've had 3 passages, including this one, where when the gathered people hear the voice of God. We had it at the Transfiguration, and then the very next week, the baptism of Jesus. And I always think of that as being really happening rarely, but it's happened a lot in this succession of readings, opening into Lent and then through Lent. I just struck me.
I love the question. Please, sir, can we see Jesus?
I love the way they say, "Oh, well, we'll just talk to each other." And they all talk to each other, and then eventually they go and ask Jesus. It sounds like real life. That does to me.
I was looking earlier in the week at a book by Tom Wright, which is just a very short commentary on the week's passages, and even he tackles it a bit tongue in cheek, because he talks about the biblical studies department are busy with the Christology of Q and the pseudonymity of Ephesians and all these kind of words, and he says, and all the Greeks want to do is see Jesus. The church
I was trying to rephrase those Greeks.
Were you?
Yeah, we want to make Jesus known.
Oh,
now, Chris, you're becoming a brown nose again here.
He's in marketing, isn't he?
He's becoming a brown nose again, trying to
get that phrase in whenever and every time we possibly can.
Trying to get around the bishop. Were the Greeks trying to make Jesus known, or did they want to know him for themselves? That's the difference, isn't it, Chris?
It is. And are they separate?
Well, we could have a good debate on that, couldn't we? Perhaps we could do a 12-week course after Easter for Rev Chat on making Jesus known.
Is there a difference between knowing Jesus and making him known?
Well,
maybe one leads to the other.
I guess you've got to be able to know Jesus for yourself if you're going to try and make him known to others.
All right. Do you think it's possible to know Jesus yourself without wanting to make him known?
I think a lot of people probably do that.
I think. Well, the whole theology of those huge box pews, I think will speaks to that, where people wanted to make my communion with my God, and I don't care about anybody else. I think some people do want to do that, or there has been a theology of that about faith being private. It's not private, really, is it?
No, and I do genuinely think actually it's difficult to know Jesus yourself. We think we know Jesus ourselves without also making him known. It's only when we help other people that we find Jesus ourselves. But I must admit, David, didn't we just expect some lovely wise words there from Deb that we just had?
We did.
Well, can I just read you this little bit that I read at PCC? Because it was interesting. This is about passion. So it says, although the English words passion and patience are derived from the Greek word meaning to suffer, in Greek, the word also has the sense of being subject to wounds and pressures from without. It could not have been applied to a divine being who, in Greek thought, was remote and self-sufficient. That is not the Christian concept of God. And in Old French and early Middle English, the word passion is always used of, indeed restricted to, Christ's suffering on the cross. So, I just thought that idea of the root of the word and patience, passion and patience, I would never have thought of those together. I'm sorry about my answer machine.
Oh, it's there.
I'm flabbergasted, Deb. That's a brilliant little reading.
Michael Main, it was, not me. Michael Main.
Michael Main. I think those are wise words, worth listening to. And you know what? Again, you can't really take part in knowing Jesus without joining in his suffering.
Yeah.
And his passion on the cross, because we always balance our Easter story and the end of our Lenten journey on, well, we're sort of trying to suffer with Jesus, but we're also excited for Easter, and we're in this sort of journey betwixt and between where we want to be good, we want to be nice, we're aware it's actually quite a horrible story, because the way Jesus was treated was not pleasant in the slightest.
Mm.
and yet we get so much from it, and we're
Yeah,
called to do the same.
I think I always say that every year, that unless you go through the suffering of Good Friday or Maundy Thursday evening and Good Friday, you can't celebrate in the joy or take part in the joy that is Easter Day, can you? And the last few weeks, I've mentioned the fact that Wednesdays I go to the school at Masterton. Again, I was there yesterday, and the story which I was reading to them from the Lion Children's Bible stories, with the story of Jesus' Last Supper. In fact, it was just called a very important meal. But the children understood that, were able to tell what it was about. But in that story, it says, Jesus told the disciples, we now have to go outside and pray because tomorrow the people are going to treat me badly. And I thought that was a lovely way for children of explaining all that was going on. They're not going to be wrong. They're not going to accuse him of things, but he's going to be treated badly. And I often wonder whether we treat Jesus sometimes badly by not standing up and being prepared to share about him. Tom writes about that question. Can I see Jesus? Goes on to write. It seems right that in Lent we stopped in the middle of Lent. We're stopped in our tracks and confronted with the question, what about Jesus? Can we please get to see him? And he says, this is a bracing pre-Holy Week question for individuals and church structures. And to what extent do we contribute to an answer? Which I thought was very, very, very cleverly put. We know Tom writes an extremely wonderful theologian and able to express things that perhaps we're not always able to. But I like that idea. How much do we contribute to keeping Jesus hidden?
Well, I think I really like the way he said church structures as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the way we operate is baffling to people, and it's baffling to us, actually, isn't it? I was saying at PCC the other day that we're all so busy, and everyone's working incredibly hard, and in our team here, our ministers, lay and ordained, we've had a lot of illness, across the board, and everyone's doing more. And the lay people, the wardens and all the lay people, they're doing loads of things. But sometimes we're so busy that I think we can lose why we're doing what we're doing. And but that isn't a criticism. I'm saying that to myself, really, because we're so enmeshed in things that need to be done. And Lent should be, and I think is a time to stand back, like you say, and to think about the journey. And we do need to do that. So yesterday I had a lot on, but I had to give one thing up in order that I could just do a bit of reading and study for the Lent course, because I didn't want to shortchange that. I thought it was important. But usually I do shortchange things like that because I go to all the meetings. So yeah, it's difficult. I think it's difficult for everyone.
That's a bit like Christmas, isn't it? Advent should be a time of waiting and pausing. But as we all preach at some point, the busyness of Christmas gets in the way of that time to just be and to ponder, which are the beautiful words of some of the Christmas stories. Mary just pondered all these things in her heart. And I don't think we put enough time. And if we're not, as leaders, because we are leaders of the spiritual communities in which we are, if we're not putting in the time, how can we expect other people to feel they need to do it as well? And I think that's a perfectly valid thing to ask. And so, like you, for our Lent course this week, which I've been leading on a Monday, Joe Tuesdays and me on a Monday, I've made sure that rather than shortchange, that I have put the work in, because it's unfair on those who've given up the time each week to come along.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it, I guess.
I also think, actually, that one of our tasks in church is, because even, outside church, many, many people run incredibly busy lives. They work harder and harder and harder.
They do.
Is when they come to church, actually they should have the opportunity to rest in God
Mm.
and relax. And if they come to church and all they see is another church rushing around,
Exactly, yeah.
being even more busy, we're not providing them with the spiritual refreshment that they need. So it's a fine balance between keeping our busy work, but actually providing a space where people can come and rest and rest and relax and feel the presence of God and do their own meditating rather than come to church. Oh, we've got a vacancy for treasurer. Oh, we've got a vacancy for this. Oh, can you help with this coffee morning? Oh, can you help with that? Now, most people love doing it and they actually find it spiritually nourishing. But some people are already so busy, we need to be able to say, just come, relax, and enjoy worshipping God on a Sunday morning for a bit.
You see, that's why I like that reading at the beginning of Passion Tide, because I've often thought about it and preached, I guess, like all of us on it. You know, this invitation at the beginning of a week, which is going to lead into the real busy week of Holy Week, is important because it's inviting us to see Jesus. Perhaps to stop and just to be, just to be quiet, because we can see Jesus in so many different ways. We don't have to physically see him in front of us. It could be that we just see him in the silence and the stillness, or in the study, or in the work of other people, or in the presence of a prayer with somebody who's dying, or at a funeral, or as Jo did yesterday when she went to a family in Broad Windsor to pray with them because they had an apparition or a ghost that they believed in their house. And all they wanted was reassuring, didn't they? And a prayer that so far seems to have reassured them enough to allow them to settle. And I think those are the times that, it's important to be able to see, to stop. And so next week for me, I tried to slow down where I can even more. Some people say you can't slow down much more, David, but yeah, I do try to slow down even more because I think it's important to do so.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
So can I see Jesus? Can we see Jesus?
I do like, just a slight side, it's almost going off track. The Greeks went to Philip and said, can we see Jesus? Philip went and told Andrew. Andrew went and told Philip, and Philip then went and told Jesus. There's like a little hierarchical chain there.
I know.
That's right.
I know. I find that great. That's very real life.
It's a bit like Chinese whispers, isn't it? Back it down comes out from Jesus. What do you think Jesus said to Philip to pass back on to the...
Thing is, if I was writing this, I would have then put the phrase, and Jesus went directly back to the Greeks and said...
Because I would have said, and then Jesus rolled his eyes.
held his head in his hands, as he always did with them, yeah. It's like you can imagine that lots of times these stories, can't you? I love that story from John 14, where the disciples, or Thomas, is saying, we don't know how to get to heaven. You've never taken us there. You can just see him, can't you, thinking, how much more have I got to keep telling you? How much more have I got to keep telling you? Yeah, yes, it's
yeah.
But it is a very important time coming up, and let's pray that we can do. I don't want to say do it justice, but that we can help people to meet Jesus for themselves, and perhaps to make a great difference in their lives. Because, as I said a few moments ago, it's often in the things we don't believe we're doing, but we do perhaps the biggest duty to God, and help him to be seen and met by others.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may not bring people into church, as we call it, but to worship regularly. But if it brings them an understanding of Christ in their lives, then that's got to be some good, surely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like a nice note to end on.
It does, yeah.
Well, there we are, dear viewer. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed that, and find Jesus for yourself. And don't forget, do spend some time over the next fortnight just being and looking for Jesus, and meeting him in the silence and the other things of life, as well as worship in church on a Sunday. And we'll do our best, I'm sure, to try and encourage that as well. So off to the fray of the day. I've got a funeral, big funeral today for a man who's well known in society in the farming and agricultural community.
Sorry about my phone.
And then I've got to go off to the burying in Marshwood, not one of my churches, but he's been buried with his wife in Marshwood. That could be a journey through the Vale.
Deb's got loads of answer phone messages to
I
answer.
know, sorry.
He has lots of answer phone messages. And I've got a few phone calls to make to try and calm down upset people.
Oh dear.
Well, nice to see you all. We
Yeah.
will go and
See you next time.
next week.
You will. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye now.